Alright, howdy folks, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about the future of Arma Reforger. The developers behind Reforger have given us quite a detailed roadmap with 3 separate named milestone updates to actually take a look at. The first update, called Ground Support, has a target release date for the 4th quarter of 2022, so we should see it somewhere in the next 4 months. The second update, Air Assault, and the third update, Final Strike, have not been given a release date, but I can kind of assume that these are both planned to come out in 2023, as Reforger is actually supposed to release its 1.0 update, which may or may not coincide with that Final Strike update, but that remains to be seen. As the developers have stated, Reforger is a stepping stone towards Arma 4, so Arma 4 may or may not come out in 2024, but I do plan to make a video dedicated to Arma 4 at some point down the line. It is stated, however, that the game will still receive support after the 1.0 update. Whether this includes new content or just fixes and small patches is to be seen, but for now, let's focus on what we do know, which is what is inside these 3 milestone updates. I'm not going to touch on every single item on these roadmaps, but I'll stick to the ones that are most interesting or game-changing. So let's first take a look at the ground support update to be released before the end of this year. This will include a new 4x4 kilometer map called Arland, set in the Baltic Sea. The size of this island seems pretty underwhelming. It's just 16 square kilometers, which is smaller than Arma 3's smallest island, Stratus, which is actually 20 square kilometers. I'm hoping for a lot of details and objects to make up for the smaller size. Stratus is actually relatively bare, so if this island is smaller than Stratus but with a lot more detail, it could kind of make up for it. An interesting idea with a lot of potential would be if modders could grab Reforger's base island of Everon and add this new smaller island to it on the same map, making it possible to travel between the 2 islands without leaving the lobby. I'm not sure if that's something that would work. I've heard people talk about this for Arma 3, where they wanted to add Stratus and Altus on the same map. It's an interesting idea. Some new gear, vehicles, and weapons will be added in this update as well. 2 new rifles will be added, the SA-58P and the SA-58V. The second one has a folding stock. These are Czechoslovakian weapons made in the late 1950s. A new scope that should fit US rifles, the Colt 4x20, will be added alongside anti-tank mines and medical assets. And these medical assets will go along with the new ambulances for both the Soviets and the Americans. However, it's a little weird that they added anti-tank mines, considering there aren't any heavy vehicles in Reforger, and the real question is if you will ever see them. However, these anti-tank mines are supposed to explode vehicles when they drive over them 30 or more seconds after these mines have been activated, but we'll touch on vehicles a little later in this video. Arma 2 and Arma 3 had quite a few animals, cows, boars, and it's good to see Reforger will finally get some wildlife in the form of birds, but hopefully we'll see more animals down the line to really give these islands some life other than just players or AI running around. The ground support update will finally allow AI to drive ground vehicles, allowing game masters or Zeus to set up convoys and use transports to move squads of AI troops around. Something I've been really waiting for as someone who loves the Zeus in Arma 3. Allowing these AI to operate vehicles will make a big difference. Now, I know quite a few people will be excited to see they're bringing back the ability to control and command a squad of AI. Personally, I never really enjoyed this part of Arma, but the basic commands like search and destroy, move, follow, and mount up will be included. It's a shame that they are adding quite a few medical-related things, such as the ambulances, but a huge request I and many others seem to have, a revive system, isn't planned until the second milestone update. We'll talk about that a little later, though it's nice to see them adding better ragdolls for sure. Dynamically generated scenarios sound interesting, especially as you can either try them solo or in co-op with your friends, with detailed compositions for the objectives, which will be in random locations. It kind of sounds like a quick and easy way for someone to make a game master scenario for their friends, and then just adjust where necessary. An interesting addition for game masters will be the ability to directly interact with entities in the world, such as doors, radios, and apparently toilets. There's a big update coming in the second milestone that will greatly benefit from this, so we'll talk about that a little later on in the video. There is some conflict update info as well, which is one of their game modes. I just haven't really played this too much, so I don't really want to comment on it. But it is nice to see they are adding conflict to the new map, which due to its size should make for some fast, intense combat according to the developers. The second milestone, called Air Assault, is very promising and adds quite a few things I myself would really love to see in Reforger, and this is where I'm starting to get really excited about these updates. The Soviets receive a heavy machine gun in the form of the NSV, as well as a new rifle optic, the 1P29, and the PGO-7V3 optic for RPGs. Pistol launched and handheld flares will be added, as well as some new ballistic protection equipment such as the M1 helmet, the 6B2 and 6B3 vests, and more. Bayonets and suppressor items that can be attached to weapons will make an appearance, and it's specifically the melee that I find interesting here. Now, the SOG Vietnam DLC for Arma 3 basically made it possible to use melee on almost every weapon, which is probably something we'll see here in Reforger for weapons that cannot fit bayonets, like submachine guns and pistols. Finally, helicopters will finally be added to Reforger in the form of an Mi-8 and UH-1H transfer helicopter for the Soviets and the Americans respectively. Initially, these will not be armed, though there will be crew-fired weapons. The final milestone might change that, which we'll touch on in a second. Also, the famous minibus from Arma 2 will make an appearance in Reforger. These helicopters, however, will most likely not be able to be controlled by AI initially, and some pilot and crew gear will also be added to better roleplay as a pilot. As I touched on when looking at the first milestone, Air Assault will finally see a revive option added to the game. This means that characters won't just flat out die when shot anymore, and medics will actually have a role. This should make co-op scenarios a lot more fun, and I can't wait for this part of the Air Assault update. In the first update, they added the ability for game masters to interact with the environment, for example, flushing a toilet or opening a door, and I said I was really excited for this milestone as they are adding electricity to Reforger in the Air Assault update. This means that every building and lamp is connected to a source. Destroying the connection between the source, or the source itself, will cause a house, a street, or even an entire town to lose all of its power. This could lead to some very interesting nighttime scenarios, and I really cannot wait to sort of further discover what this feature may add. The third milestone, called Final Strike, may or may not coincide with the 1.0 update and will add some much needed heavy vehicle firepower. Besides, we'll also add a mortar for the Soviets and the Americans, a new machine gun in the form of the UK-59, a new rifle for the US and the M16A2, as well as anti-personnel mines, civilian clothes, explosive charges, and some awesome vehicles. The LAV-25 should actually be an awesome counter to the Soviet BTR currently in the game, though the Soviets are getting access to a BRDM-2 as well in this update. I'm kind of wondering what variants we can expect for the BRDM-2. Is it just a base one with the KPVT in the turret, or perhaps other ones as seen in Arma 2, such as a Commander or even an ATGM version remains to be seen. A flatbed truck, as well as the Skoda S105 will be added, and helicopter weapon systems. What this means that for helicopters, these could be side or pod mounted weapons such as rockets, miniguns, and bombs to go alongside those crew operated weapons, though still no mention of the AI being capable of flying these helicopters as of yet. As I said, there is more to these roadmaps that I covered here, but I just tried to pick the things that really mostly interested me or that people wanted to see in the game for a while now, and I look forward to seeing what will become of Reforger. At the moment, the game just feels really lackluster, and I think these three milestone updates could really give it a much needed boost in content, which also hopefully gives a much needed boost in a player base. On the other end, not having any jets or boats or even tracked vehicles feels like a huge miss, and if the devs aren't going to be adding any of those themselves, I hope Arma's modding community can fill the gaps, at least until Arma 4 comes out. For now, I hope you enjoyed this look at what will come to Reforger in the next 12 months or so. Are there any vehicles or weapons or such that you think really need to be in Reforger? Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.